Welcome to the podcast from the St. Louis Sportists, an occasionally smart, always irreverent look at sports in St. Louis and beyond. And now, your St. Louis Sportists.
Hello and welcome to the podcast from the St. Louis Sportists. My name is Ron Cook, and I am joined by Tom Mathis.
Hello, everybody. Not much going on tonight, so we thought we'd do a podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll notice there's no reflections. If you're watching on YouTube, no reflections on the screens behind me because the Thunderdome is dark tonight. Tom, that reminds me of one of the great trivia questions. You know, the 2 days a year where there are no Major League Baseball, NFL, NHL, or NBA games. It's pretty obvious now.
Yes, Monday and today.
Oh, yeah, the day before and the day after the Major League All-Star game is the answer to that question. So let's, as far as the rest of the team, Joe Sperlin is on assignment in Arizona. Doug Lansdowne has listed himself as DNP coach's decision. And Keith Farrell was going to join us, but he was scratched during warm-ups. The trainers just waved him off and said, no, sorry.
Is there any truth to the rumor that Joe's standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona?
We did get a text to that effect today. We do know that he did play a TPC course with his family out there.
Oh, so, wow. Nice.
Yeah, we can quiz him about that. You know, if it's a stadium course, knowing me, I would end up hitting one in the bleachers that would rattle around. So.
Yeah.
In this edition, Jordan Walker announces his presence with authority. I just quoted Nuke LaLoosh there. And introduces himself to Major League Baseball on Monday. For the Cardinals, the record is the same as it was at this point last season. Is the outlook for the rest of the season the same? And the World Cup finals are set. What has the World Cup done for soccer in the U.S.? We'll kick that around. The St. Louis Sportists are brought to you by First Coast Steel Buildings. Jason and his team will take your project from design to completion with a family-first approach. Learn more at onestcoaststeel.com, and we will hear more from them and Sandra Templeoff later in the show. Tonight's last call is brought to you by Black Dog Consulting, LLC. I'm here to help the one-truck owner and the small fleet owner to grow and prosper. You can contact our buddy Dave at 417-217-9622. Black Dog Consulting, helping you retrieve bigger profits. We're on all the socials. If you'd like us, follow us, leave a review. We would appreciate it. We would thank you very much. And you can watch this on YouTube. Some people, for some reason, Tom, like watching us on YouTube.
That's pretty scary.
It's frightening on many levels. That's what it is, I'll tell you. Let's lead it off with quick hits, Mr. Mathis. What do you have?
Well, this past weekend, the Cardinals and MLB had their annual draft. The Cardinals, by all reports, did a really good job. And I don't like letter grades for the MLB draft because nothing is really going to be known for 3 to 5 years. But if they want to rank us first, we'll take that. I know MLB and CBS both ranked the Cardinals draft first. Baseball America, ESPN, and also The Athletic hasn't given this NL Central grade yet, but I'm sure Keith Law will probably get them pretty high too. A couple of the bigger names, their number one pick was center fielder Trevor Condon. He's a high schooler from Georgia. He was going to commit to Tennessee, and Tony Vitello got hired by the Giants. So the Cardinals, were able to draft him. He's got a lot of speed and a lot of power, so he ought to be interesting to see in center field here in a few years. They also got another pitcher from Tennessee. That's 3 in the last 2 drafts, Tegan Kuhns. They say he could be a middle of the rotation starter pretty quickly. So that would be nice, give him another option. They drafted a couple shortstops. We talked about the shortstops for their athleticism. They're Rocco Maniscalco and D. Kennedy. D. Kennedy was from K-State. He transferred into K-State for this season. Thing about him is he had LASIK surgery before last season. He wasn't hitting very well, and he had that LASIK surgery, and everything kind of turned around. So his stats were a lot better than they had been. And then lastly, the quickest to the MLB might be right-handed pitcher Cal Randall. They're saying that his fastball, if he can get it in the zone, he could be here very, very quickly. One report said that his fastball has the perfect shape as it exists right now in the history of baseball, really. So hopefully he can get up here and throw strikes.
There's talk that he could be a future closer for your St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, that would be nice. We might have him closing next year.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not unprecedented to see. You think back to it was Finnegan for the Royals. I mean, he was a guy that they drafted him, and then he was like pitching in the playoffs later that year. So
right.
some of those college guys can move up very quickly.
Especially if they didn't throw a lot of innings in college. The guys who threw a lot of innings, they probably not going to be able to throw much. But if you were a reliever in college, you still got some innings left, maybe.
Yeah, and if you were an LSU starter, you're going to take the rest of the year off.
That's right.
So for mine, Tom, the World Cup is here, winding down, and it's built some hubris among the male population in the United States of America, particularly relating to their soccer abilities. A survey was fielded, and almost a quarter of U.S. men are confident that they could definitely or probably score on a penalty kick in a World Cup match.
Okay.
Now, this was a YouGov poll, and it was American men and women across several ages, all sorts of, crosstabs. And overall, 1 in 5 of U.S. adults believed they could score on a penalty kick. Now, it's 12 yards, in case you're wondering. So the ball's 12 yards from the goal. 15% of women and 24% of men said, "Got it, no problem. I've watched it. I can knock one in." And those answering in the affirmative were most densely concentrated in the 18 to 29 bracket. 41% of 18 to 29-year-old men said no problem. In case you're wondering, typically 71 to 79%. I know in the MLS, the expected goal, or the XG as they call it, is 0.71 on a penalty kick. So, what do you think, Tom? You think you could hammer one in?
I do not anymore. There's one good thing about getting older is you realize and admit that you can't do things like that anymore, or possibly ever. These are world-class athletes out there, and I know they're, the goalkeepers jumping one way or the other, but still, you probably not going to make it very often. You're probably not even going to hit the net.
Or sometimes the ball, even. I mean, let's be realistic here.
Exactly.
Our friend of the show, Ron Klipp, last night was very confident he could hammer one in. And the more I thought about it, the more I was convinced that I would end up laying on the ground grabbing my hammy like I'd been fouled,
Exactly.
So, let's not try that.
Yeah.
But moving on to much better and more pleasant topics, you've got your St. Louis Cardinals. They hit the break at 50-45, which ironically was the exact same record as last year. But man, it feels different, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, last year that record was buoyed by the 9-game winning streak that they had early in the season. And then you knew that the sell-off was going to come at some point last year. So this year, if they trade anybody, it might be Newt and maybe O'Brien. But I'm doubtful, as every day goes, that they'll trade anybody. And there's more fun. We keep saying that they're just a fun team to watch, and they are. I mean, they never quit. They keep going, and they're having fun out there. So they're just an enjoyable team to watch.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is a guy that's done advertising for a while. They told us this in college, and I still remember it. They said that if you can't write something on the back of a business card, you don't have a clear idea. And so here's my back of a business card. Last year, it felt like they were descending, and this year it feels like they're ascending.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
You've got a solid core.
Hmm.
You look at five guys. You look at Walker, Weatherholt, Burleson, Wynn, and Herrera. And
Yeah.
out of your nine spots in the lineup, that's pretty darn good. And you know that those guys are more than likely going to be around for a while. So that doesn't leave, Church, he's okay.
Yeah.
You've got people on the way. You've got people in the
Exactly.
minors, and it's you are allowed to pick up free agents or trade for people. That they haven't outlawed that.
Right. Exactly. And they may do that once they get to where they're ready to contend and can fill in a hole. If they get 2 years down the line and they're like, well, we need a third baseman. Well, maybe that's when they go out and fill that hole, and that'd be
Yeah,
a perfect spot to do it. So, I just think, it's just a lot different than last year. And again, I don't care. I want them to be a good team, and I want to watch them contend. But if they don't make the playoffs this year, it's not the end of the world. What they're doing right now is beyond expectations already. So let's keep that mindset, that they're building for the future, and they might be contending and getting in the playoffs while they build.
yeah, for sure. They are in third place right now, 8.5 behind Milwaukee. Last week they were 10.5 behind Milwaukee. Boy, did
Yeah.
the Brewers ran into a buzzsaw with the irate Pirates there in the last weekend of the season. Cardinals are 3.5 behind the Cubs, which is unchanged from last week, and now they're only one game behind the Marlins for that final wild card spot. Last week they were two. It kind of feels like, and I think most Cardinal fans would probably agree if we said, hey, they could be a playoff team, but are they seriously a World Series contender? I don't know that you'd find even the most optimistic Cardinal fan that would say, hey, they can go on a deep playoff run.
I would agree. They just don't have the starting pitching depth to get into the playoffs. Of course, now a starting pitcher in the playoffs goes 3 innings, so they're not going very far. Liberatore's been better his last couple starts with Herrera catching him, but you don't know about May start to start. Lay's been better. Palante, I mean, he's had a good first half, but do you feel confident about him leading you into the playoffs? So I think though, like I said, they're getting better. The pitching is going to come. I mean, between Doyle and Matthews and all these pitchers that they've drafted, we're going to have some pitching coming in the next year or two.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of May, I think it was two or three episodes ago, he was coming off of that one hit shutout, and his value was astronomical. And since then, it has, taken a turn. Is it possible that his value is so damaged by his recent performances that we're not going to be able to get a return that would justify a trade, and we just say, "Hey, let's ride it out with him for the rest of the season"?
I kind of think so. I'm not sure what kind of return they would have got in the first place for him. I mean, he's gone through a lot the last couple years. So, I mean, if he'd been more consistent, my dad always said he hated to see a pitcher get a no hitter or a perfect game because they're kind of wrecked for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of what's happened to May is since he's had that great game, it just seems like it took a lot out of him. And I don't know. Hopefully this break will help him recover from that.
Don Mathis was a very smart man. So let's think of Bud Smith and who
Jose
the
Jimenez.
I was just getting ready to say the gentleman who became a 30 game closer for the Rockies of all things, Mr.
Yes,
Jose Jimenez. The last two Cardinals to throw no hitters, and if you knew that, we give you a sportist salute
that's right.
on that one. It's every once in a while you'll hear something in the St. Louis media, and you hear it from more than one place, and you hear it in almost similar language. And lately I've been hearing, hey, if they move May and if they move Newtbar, would maybe they replace him with Matthews and Baez, and that wouldn't be such a bad thing. And I've heard it just kind of struck me. I've heard that like three places over the last few days.
And I mean, everybody thinks it's the move from AAA to majors is easy, and it's not. I mean, these guys. I mean, you want them to get that experience, but you don't want to throw them right in the middle of the fire,
Mm-hmm.
And then also like Baez, he's got to come up and play every single day. He can't sit on the bench and play, every third day or something. He's got to keep playing and get those at bats.
Right. And ask Jimmy Crooks if it's an easy transition.
Exactly. He can answer that question twice for you. So
Yeah. And speaking of movements, our friend Mr. Sinjay, the switch pitcher, has gone from AA Springfield to AAA Memphis, and of course, right now he's the best thing we have to show for the Brendan Donovan trade. That's a positive move.
yes, it's good. I mean, his ERA is still pretty high. I mean, but he's moving upwards, and I mean that's where we want him to go. We don't want him, stalling at Double A and maybe even regressing a little bit. So, but after with the draft and everything, the trade is kind of complete, and they got a haul for Brendan Donovan.
Mm-hmm.
They've got 5 players to show for him, and Brendan Donovan, I don't know if he's back yet. He hasn't played much this year.
No, I think they said it was like May 15th was like the last
I
time.
think so. Yeah.
And so I have a humble proposal. If someone stays the same or goes back in the Cardinal minor league system, can we say they've tinked?
That is a perfect symbolism for that. Yes. So,
People will just know.
yeah. Also, there's a Molina coming up. Mason Molina, he got promoted to AAA. So he might not be. He might be the guy that gets brought up this year.
He is moving quickly, and
Yes, he is.
it almost never fails. You think back to years past where someone goes down, and you see a guy from like. It's like during football season. You'll look out on the mound and it'll be like, hey, it's that guy from AAA pitching for
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me if Molina was that guy this year.
My perfect example of that is Danny Cox.
Yeah.
He came up, he pitched the Hall of Fame game for the Cardinals. And, he went straight up the ladder that year, and he was pitching here by the end of the season.
If I recall, his first game was against Steve Carlton and the Phillies, and it went like 10 innings. And it's like, hello, welcome to the majors.
Yeah, that's the way to start.
Yeah. Yeah. So around the league, this is a sentence that I never imagined I would like form, but was the home run derby better than the All-Star game this year?
To be perfectly honest, I watched neither. Uh, I never watched a home run derby, but I was happy to see Jordan Walker won. And I was even happier to see him beat Kyle Schwarber in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Anybody beating him might have been all right, but Jordan Walker made it a little bit sweeter. But then last night, the strikeouts were there and the hits were not. So, that's pretty poor game for everything I heard.
Yeah, 27 strikeouts and one extra base hit in your All-Star game. That's not
Boy.
exactly why people tune in.
No.
So Jordan Walker, as you mentioned, wins the home run derby. Jamie and I watched it, and it was just incredibly tense. I looked over at one point, and she like had her hands up over her mouth, like, oh no, because the format, which Jeff Passan had a great tweet. He early in the day, he's like, I think this format may stink, and then like as soon as it was over, he's like, Jeff Passan's an idiot, because it lent itself to a fantastic ending. So that's kicked off kind of a question around town. After the Weatherholt extension, which I think was universally applauded around town, when do you extend Jordan Walker?
Well, there's 2 things I think you're going to wait on. The first is see what happens with the CBA. Weatherholt was so far out that it's probably not going to affect him. But Walker, if I'm not wrong, he's going to be eligible next year for arbitration.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so, there's not a whole lot, in it for him, depending on what the contract is, obviously. But then again, it's going to depend on him. If he wants to, you know, block up for those couple years and, hopefully he does. I'd like to see him stay here for a while. But I just think they should start the talks, but be wary of some things that are down the road.
Yeah. And one of the things, and I threw this in a chat, and you and I and Keith kicked it around a little bit. Someone on social today threw out the Paul DeYoung experience because Paul had that one year where he hit, was it 28 home runs,
I
something
think he
like
got
that.
30, didn't he?
I think, yeah, he may have. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's like, okay, let's extend him for 8 years. And it's like,
Mhm.
wow, okay, we've solved shortstop for 8, and then didn't work out so well.
No, no, it did not. And, I mean, if you remember, DeYoung came up as a third baseman, and they
Right.
moved him to shortstop in the middle of the season, and then he was up here before you knew it. And I mean, he was a different player, viewed as a different player, I think, from a third baseman to a shortstop. Having a little bit of pop, made him a different player. And he was a good shortstop, but he's just not. He wasn't in Jordan Walker's class.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jordan Walker, if he can continue this power and even his hitting, I mean, he's hitting over 290 right now and driving in runs. So these guys don't come cheap. And that's the thing to remember. You can find shortstops, but you can't find these power hitting outfielders. And he is playing such great defense, too. When he first started playing the outfield, I'm like, man, I'm ready to get him over to first base. But he's doing a great job now.
Yeah, his routes were like it was like Isaac Bruce, his routes, the change of direction.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
but well, and also just to watch him throw. I mean, he's got, 8 outfield assists, halfway
Yeah,
through the season.
yeah, and
Crazy.
then and he almost threw somebody out of the plate the other day. So, um, you know, he's become an all around player, even his base running.
Yeah.
He does a great job on the base pass. So, just a different class of player.
Yeah. And since I guess you and I are the correspondents at large this week, Lance McCullers moves from the Astros to the Brewers. Sounds like the Brewers sound like they are getting tired of people saying they can't win in the postseason, and they seem serious about it this year.
Yes, they do. You know, it, when do we hear of a salary dump going to the Brewers? And that's kind of what I'm hearing. That was, so there's probably not a lot of going back to Houston in this trade, and they also got a reliever, so that's going to help them. And I agree, they're probably going to keep fighting, and they probably add another piece or two.
Yeah. For our friend Joe Sperlin out in Arizona, the Scooball watch, I saw that he had a ERA under 2 in his first 3 starts back from the injured list. Let the bidding begin. The Tigers, baseball's a funny game. The Tigers are 44 and 52, and they have a plus 24 run differential. You want to explain that one to me?
Yeah, you guess you win a bunch of uh, runaways, and you lose tight games. So that's about the only way I can figure it out. Another player that I'm hearing that is on the market is Mason Miller of the Padres.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
they got when they traded for him, they kind of gave away their farm system. And now they're trying to find a way to get it back. And I heard the Yankees are, interested in him. Everybody will be, but we'll see. I'd kind of like keeping him out there in San Diego. Um, he doesn't hurt as bad out there.
No, yeah, that's correct. We don't have to face him nearly as often. The nightmare would be if he went to the Cubs.
Yes.
That would be
Not sure
very
if the
bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Cubs have enough. I mean, that they need starters, but I don't know if they have enough in their system to get him.
But AJ Preller does like to operate on the madman theory, and he, it's like, have I made a ridiculously stupid trade in a while? And so
Exactly.
you never know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
And finally, you always wish the best for people, but poor Jen Paywall, the first female umpire, it came out today that in Angel Hernandez's final season, he was down around 93 and change percent strikes, and she's lower than that right now. And there was a replay this week, and some people are calling it the worst ABS review. It was a pitch, Tom. I don't know if it could have been more down the middle and in the center of the plate, and she called it a ball.
Yeah.
Struggling a bit, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of games where she was behind the plate, and she does struggle. I mean, I don't know, not sure what it is, but she does have some struggles, and that's my worry about they getting rid of these 7 umpires that they announced last week. They were going to take early retirement. Do you have enough good replacements to replace these guys? And that scares me. We
Yeah.
we may have to go to 4 ABS challenges a game.
Well, and no, I know the game or one of the games I think that we're talking about was when the Cardinals played the Twins and she was behind home plate, and there were like 3 challenges in the first half inning.
Yeah.
And I think they were all over. I think they were all incorrect calls. And it's not that. And I would really have loved for her to come in. I think Becky Hammond's a great story in the NBA. That she comes in, she's on the Spurs, she does well, goes to the very good coach, highly respected.
Right.
I was kind of hoping for that, but well, maybe there's time for improvement. How about that?
It's like they rushed her.
Yeah.
They wanted to have a female.
Yeah. So we're not going to rush our friends at First Coast Steel Buildings because we have reached the halfway point in this somewhat express episode of the St. Louis Sportis Podcast. When we come back, it's time to crown the champion golfer of the year. It's the British Open, or I guess the Open Championship, as they're saying now.
The Open.
Yes, we'll also conduct an early review of the U.S. World Cup experience and tie up some loose ends when we come back.
Are you in the market for a barn dominium, house, garage, man cave, carport, or hobby shop? Wondering how to get started or where to go? Whatever you are looking to design, look no further than First Coast Steel Buildings. Give Jason and his team a call at 912-314-4848. They will guide you through the process, designing your building to fit your specific needs and budget. Call them today at 912-314-4848 or get inspirational ideas and start designing your own by visiting them at firstcoaststeel.com. Again, that's the number 1, coaststeel.com. Their low-cost buildings are fully galvanized steel, providing you with worry-free, low-maintenance requirements, integrity, quality, and a family-first approach. First Coast Steel Buildings, 912-314-4848 or firstcoaststeel.com. Discounts for military and first responders.
And we are back on the St. Louis Sportis Podcast, along with Tom Mathis. My name is Ron Cook, and World Cup action. We now know the final 2 teams. It will be Argentina versus Spain. Down goes Ohio State yesterday.
Wow.
Didn't see that coming, Tom.
I did not. I mean, I picked them last week to win. I guess that was the curse for them.
Yeah, and then today, Lionel Messi just comes up big very late in the game. Argentina, with 2 very late goals, takes down England. Again, they're Notre Dame, and it was a Notre Dame-like comeback where you think Notre Dame is going to lose, and then all of a sudden, within the last few minutes, they come back and win. So Sunday is your championship game, 2:00 on Fox, Big Fox, in the Meadowlands. They do a 3rd place game, which is just adorable. So, France and England will play, just not not for the stakes I think that they thought they would be playing for.
No, nobody thought that they'd be playing in this game, and be interested to see what the viewing numbers are for that one. We don't have games like that anymore, so it'll be interesting.
They used to, in the NFL did that back in the 60s, because I remember, didn't the football Cardinals play the Packers one year, and
I
they
think so.
won?
Yeah, I think so.
I want to say Billy Gambrell had a big game, and how I remember that, I have no idea. It's because I didn't remember things from school.
That's
folks.
right. And the NCAA tournament, they did a third place game for a long time.
Oh, yeah. I remember the 78 one here in St. Louis. That was like Arkansas and Notre Dame. And it was a really close game.
Yeah.
So, no more third place games.
Yeah,
I just can't imagine motivating a team of college athletes these days saying, hey, you're going to go out and play your third place. Everyone would opt out.
Exactly. That's right. They would. You would have nobody there. Everybody would opt out.
You would have your spirit squad playing each other.
Yeah. And I don't know what the difference is in the payouts for the third place team to the fourth place team.
Yeah.
So that might have a difference where, these guys might get a little bit more money, but it can't be that much where Mbappe is going to play 120 minutes if it goes to extra time.
No. And one of the things I heard that I thought was interesting, being an Arsenal fan, and the Premier League starts mid-August, like August 15th, August 17th, around in there. And these guys have had absolutely no off season. So what they've said the plan for Arsenal is some of these guys aren't going to play till the 1st of October. They're basically going to give them August and September off. And say, meet us the 1st of October, because again, the season goes to next May.
Right, exactly. It never ends.
It's a little bit like hockey. It's kind of a very, very long season. So
it is.
So last time the World Cup was in the U.S., back in the mid '90s, the MLS sprung from that, and it's that was actually one of the future requirements to host a World Cup is like you have to have a professional league. So we've obviously had great ratings. It's captured the attention of, a pretty wide swath of the country. What do you think we're going to see in terms of like the impact on soccer in the U.S. from this World Cup?
I don't know. I mean, hopefully the MLS can build on this and you keep the enthusiasm. But the problem is there's just not a whole lot of the MLS players playing in this tournament. And if they are, they're not playing huge roles. I mean, you hear some, they'll say, well, he plays for so-and-so, but, not every team has somebody. And like we talked about last week, getting another star or two over here would help a lot. Messi, I think he's made a big difference, but like he hasn't been here. We haven't seen him here, and he doesn't play every game. So
doesn't play on turf.
Yeah, is that it? He doesn't play on turf. Yeah, so and I can understand that at his age. So I know how my knees feel, so I can understand not want to run for 90 minutes on turf. So it's. I hope that they can build on it, sustain it. I don't know if they can. I mean, the MLS has come a long way since the last World Cup, so maybe they can keep going and, make some strides with this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the Apple TV deal is killing them, and some of the owners have said as much. And so,
yes,
because I should know the percentage of the country that has Apple TV, but I don't. They did one thing this year that I think was positive, where they made it to where you didn't have to buy the add-on. So before this MLS season, you had to have Apple TV, and then you had to pay something on top of that.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's make it even more exclusive. So this year they did away with that. If you have Apple TV, you get the MLS. But I think they've just got to get on a network, like they got to get on Fox. They got to get on NBC. They got to get on something that people can see them. And some of the owners, there have been stories in The Athletic that some of the owners have said, hey, unless people can see our product, we're going to have trouble growing it.
Exactly. I mean, and that's what they got to put it out there in front of people. And also, I know most of the games are on Saturday nights. Move that around a little bit, and just do what you can, to make it where you can see more games. If you're watching your team on Saturday night, chances are you're missing everybody else's games. So make it Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and the whole thing they were trying to do there, which I think was another miss, was they're like, okay, we want it to be like the NFL, where like a whole bunch of the games are at the same time. And I'm thinking, well, all of them aren't at like 3:00 on Sunday. They have like 3 different times on Sunday that you can.
Exactly. So, yeah, and then they're changing the season to kind of mirror what the Premier League and all the European leagues do. When does that start? Is that next year? Or?
That's next year. So this year is going to end at its regular time in December, and then they're going to have what they call a sprint season, which is going to be just a few games. And then next August is when they will move to the permanent, exactly what we were talking about with the Premier League. And they believe that that's going to be a huge plus long term, because that's going to match up the transfer windows. Because now they have trouble, getting some of the best players like you were talking about, because the transfer windows are very different.
Right.
So this will allow them to jump in and get, at least compete for some of the better players at the same time as the other international leagues are. So. So we'll watch that one over a period of time. But again, there was huge growth after the last World Cup in the U.S. We'll see if it happens here.
That sprint season, that could be pretty interesting, and that might be something where you have to look at and just see what the involvement is from there, because I bet that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to create a whole different situation. They do typically take a break in like the heat of the summer sometimes. Well, this year they're going when they go to the new schedule. They've said that the break that they'll take like what they call a winter break in January, because of course you've got teams in Canada, and you've got teams in Boston or New England and Minnesota. Okay, that's probably a good time to take a break.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah.
So unless you want frozen tundra. So with that, I think it's time to move on to loose ends. The first loose end, our friend Doug Lansdowne did send us an Open Championship preview. Royal Birkdale. It begins, practically a few hours from now. Seriously.
Yes, it does.
That's one of those things, Tom, that I love about the British Open or the Open Championship. It doesn't take up your whole Sunday. You can be finished with that by
noon.
Oh, heck, you'll be able to watch that and then go straight into the World Cup.
Exactly.
It'll be over with by 2.
Yeah.
So anyway, Doug said about Royal Birkdale, it's always been a great course for an American winner. And then he says, Sam Burns, ? He says, never a pretender has won there, always a multi-major winner or the best player in the world at the time. And then he has, for his example, Ian Baker Finch. He says the course is baked out. And then he says something that just kind of blows my mind. 280-yard 6-irons.
Jeez, man. They're getting some good rolls, huh?
280-yard 6-irons. He says too much pressure on the English guys. Maybe Hatton. I guess that's his only English guy. He says if you're betting a long shot, Johnny Kiefer. Another dark horse is Siwoo Kim. And he thinks the best story would be if Wyndham Clark won and got more cheers than his U.S. Open win.
Wouldn't that be telling?
That would be hilarious. And apparently they, a little bit like Augusta, have a one-and-done policy for unruly fans and says it is strictly enforced.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So it is always interesting. You never know what the weather's going to be over there.
You don't.
And I do think it's always fun because you can just tell those days the wind is blowing and like their jackets are like,
Yeah. They've had a lot of heat over there, and maybe that's probably why the course is so baked. But yeah, I see on Twitter, that people are talking about how hot it's been over there. Um, so maybe I don't know, maybe different than most years. And did you hear that they've totally redone that course? They've
Mhm.
like one hole they just totally got rid of and moved it. So it's going to be interesting to see how the players who've been there a lot react to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it never fails. It seems like this tournament, more than any of the majors, is one where there will be some guy on the leaderboard on the last day that you're like, who?
Yeah, exactly. And he might be from England
Right.
or there. So, and it's going to be interesting. Scotty got out of the Scottish Open early. We'll see if he got over there to play Birkdale a couple of days and see how he responds to his first missed cut in a while.
Yeah, he had the longest streak
Mhm.
of not missing cuts, and that came to an end last weekend. So
Right.
we'll see if that was a blip for what many people think was the best player
Yeah.
in the world. Loose end number 2. It's getting close, Tom. SEC football media days next week. How about that?
Is there a bigger waste of time than the media days for these conferences? I mean, Big 12 had theirs last week. I mean, all they do is regurgitate what they've been saying all summer and fall, and I don't know. I, I would never envision going to one of those. I guess you probably wouldn't, but
You think Eli practices his jokes in front of a mirror?
he probably sets the family down in front of him and starts telling stories and jokes, and if they don't
They give
laugh,
him a
exactly, Dad, come on, that's bad.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Well, and one of the questions that he'll certainly be asked is, of course, Ahmad Hardy, who unfortunately was shot in the off season, and but I understand that there are HIPAA
Mhm.
regulations that govern what can be said about his condition. There's also people gambling on Missouri's over/under win total that are probably saying, "Hey, we'd really like to know something here."
Exactly. It'd be interesting if they take him to the media days. I mean, he is their best player, their biggest star, so he should probably be going there.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't heard who they're taking. LSU's
neither.
released their guys, but
Yeah. I can't see him going, especially if he's not going to be able to play for a while. If he's ready to go, maybe they take him and he says, "Oh, I'm going. I'll be ready for opening day." But I don't know about that.
yeah, I would bet against it. Going back to our
Yeah.
betting thing, so. And our final loose end is your St. Louis City is back on the pitch down at Enterprise, or I'm sorry, Energizer Park tomorrow. At Enterprise, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
At Energizer Park tomorrow, playing Sporting Kansas. That's with a lowercase, folks. The arch enemy, Sporting Kansas, is in to kick off the second. I hear them calling it the second half of the season. It's actually
Mhm.
a little bit more than that. No real moves in the transfer window, but again, they're coming off of some strong momentum they had just before the end. And as we talked about with Jen, playoffs are not out of the question here. So it'll be interesting to see what the boys in red come back with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'd be quite fun to see him, come back and like we said, they got to generate that interest and keep it sustained, and it'll be fun to see what they do.
And indeed it will. So 7:30 tomorrow. And if you have Apple TV, you can tune in.
Yeah.
Seeing a theme here.
Hmm.
With that, Tom Mathis, we have reached the last call, brought to you by Black Dog Consulting. With over 38 years in the transportation industry, Dave knows where to look to find those pennies per mile that make the difference between just getting by and profit and growth. From one-truck operations to small fleet owners, he has a proven multi-million-dollar track record to help you retrieve bigger profits. You can contact Dave at 417-217-9622 or David at blackdogconsultingllc.net. I sent him an email today, in fact. You can also check out the website, blackdogconsulting.net. Tom Mathis, what is your last call?
Well, I'm going to take a double again. But my first thing, we talked about the draft and the All-Star game. And I think MLB needs to do a better job of coordinating these events. Like the draft was Saturday while games were going on, and Sunday while games were going on. The Futures game was Sunday while games were going on. Give these guys, some uh, get them some viewership, and if nothing else, you let people get some eyes on them. So maybe you do the first half of the draft on Monday before the home run derby, or then you do the home run derby that night. The All-Star game, okay, maybe you keep that up standalone. But on Wednesday, when there's absolutely nothing going on in the world of sports, maybe that's when you do the draft, or and then you could play the Futures game that night. But just make it more, compatible to all the fans, where they can see things. You also got Thursday. There's one game played on Thursdays now. I used to love that 4-game set after the All-Star break, but they got rid of that. So just get rid of it completely. Just have everybody take Monday through Thursday off, and just spread this stuff out a little bit. Make it where people can see it all and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm no rocket surgeon, but I will tell you one thing that blew my mind. Sunday night, the NBC network was showing WNBA, and if you recall, that was the day they played the Futures game earlier that day.
Mhm.
Why couldn't you have bumped the Futures game to that night?
Exactly. That would have been perfect. And people could have seen it, just, just think about this stuff a little bit more. Those guys, they'd be happy to play no matter when you're going to have them play. But, just spread it out a little bit, not jam it all into 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, I think that would be good. My guess is that you would have whiny executives that want to get out of Philadelphia and have an actual break themselves. So.
That's probably true. My second last call will be, I know we're fearful of a lockout coming up, but man, there's a lot going good for baseball right now. And I know, I keep hearing that the owners want a salary cap and they're not going to, stop until they get it. There needs to be some revenue sharing with the Dodgers and everybody else. So I just hope that they can work together and, in the next couple months and get something agreed upon. It's not looking good because I've heard, some of the things each side's saying, but there's just so much good about baseball right now. And we haven't had this for a while. If we have another lockout, we're going to go back, to what we had before. And, it's just going to be sad. And then I heard that the Cincinnati Reds rookie Sal Stewart said today that the players they're not going to go for a salary cap. It's just not working for them. So they're not going to do it. Buddy, when you have more than 3 months of baseball in your MLB experience, then you can come talk to us about what's good and bad for MLB.
I heard someone say that he is eminently punchable already.
I can't stand him. He's got an attitude, and I don't like him.
He's the one that famously started to take off his body armor.
Yep.
And the Cardinals challenged a pitch, and then he had to put it all back on.
Yep. Yeah. And he just does stuff like that all the time. He's just one of those guys where you'd love to hate. So.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he's a jerk, but he's a talented jerk. So I'm afraid he'll be around for a while.
Probably will.
So for mine, I will now dispense with all seriousness. College Sports Online, because once again, college football is just around the corner. So they have come out with their all-name team for college football 2026. And I'm not going to give all of them, but I'm just going to give a few. Montana has a running back named Tommy Running Rabbit. No doubt Native American, but a darn good running back name. West Virginia has Sir Paul Cheeks. That's another running back. I don't know if they were a Beatle fan or not with Sir Paul. Kent State has a wide receiver, DeRealist Clark. That's D-A Realist, DeRealist Clark.
The realist.
Oklahoma tight end. This would be a very high-selling jersey, Rocky Beers. Get a Coors sponsorship out of that, man.
Yeah.
My dearly beloved alma mater, Missouri State, has an offensive lineman, great offensive lineman name here, King Large.
Yeah, that's perfect.
It also sounds like something you'd order at Orange Julius back in the day, I think. Howard University has Sir Kanye Venable.
What? Sir Kanye. Oh,
Sir, and that's with a hyphen. Sir Kanye Venable. Here's one that, Tom, baseball fans our age might scratch their head a moment. This is Appalachian State. The guy's name is Big Al Oliver.
I like the name. I don't know how big he is. I mean, I've never thought of how Oliver's big.
Offensive lineman, but yeah, we think of the line drive machine that played for the Pirates, Phillies, Expos, and Rangers. Named Al Oliver, played some center field and left field, but no, the lineman for App State is Big Al Oliver. And finally, Alabama has an offensive lineman named Racin Delgatti. That's R-A-C-I-N Delgatti, which sounds to me like that's out of Ricky Bobby, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect name for Ricky Bobby.
And with Alabama, too. I mean, come on.
Couldn't be a better school.
Yeah. So, Tom, I think with all of our comrades nursing their various injuries and travels, I think we've held down the fort for a week. So
I think we have.
Appreciate you, sir. And we will catch up with you next week.
Thank you. This is a big weekend, World Cup and the British Open. So enjoy the weekend and watch some sports.
Sounds good. And we will see all of you next week on the St. Louis Sportus Podcast. And until then, take care.
And that wraps another episode of the St. Louis Sportus Podcast. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest episodes. You can find these guys on all major podcast platforms. And thanks for listening.